It's a lovely good evening, Zambia. Good evening, Africa, and warm welcome to the analysis program right on KBN TV from Zambia's capital city, Lusaka, with me, Innocent Piri, as your host this evening. And of course, I should make mention that, of course, today being Sunday, we are quite excited to, of course, dive into a number of issues. But also tomorrow, Monday, being Africa Day, as it were, we will dive into all these issues with my team in the studio to just break down some of the stories that you are anticipating to be discussed. For starters, allow me to apologize to most of you, the viewers out there, that struggled during the course of the week as we were offline on DSTV and GoTV. It's been a struggle due to our technical faults, but this was actually rectified. That was a day ago. So we thank you so much for all those phone calls you made demanding to have the analysis back and also all the channels back on your screens. We appreciate your concerns and also the frustration that you went through. We are deeply sorry and also concerned for that. Allow me to unveil the team I have in the studio as usual. As you know that today we are having a jam-packed stories that have been lined up, and Comrade Mike Sichula, I know, is quite, burning. Is quite, well prepared ahead of the analysis, which begins now. Mike, welcome and good evening to you.
Good evening, IP, and good evening to our dear viewers watching us wherever they are. I'm happy to be here by the grace of God, and I hope our viewers also had an opportunity to go to church, pray for the nation, as we are in a very crucial stage of our country in terms of the campaigns and for the elections on 13th August.
Thank you so much. That's Comrade Mike Chula, the speech analyst, and of course in the midst of next to him, we've got the guru himself in Comrade Sinyangwe Chiwoyu. Welcome and good evening to the program. Happy to see you and happy Sunday to you, Chiwoyu.
Good evening, our dear viewers, and good evening, IP. It's a very special day for us. Doing the news analysis on the eve of a very important day, like you said, Africa Freedom Day, a very important day for the continent, is tomorrow. So as we reflect on the current happenings in the country, we'll obviously be able to expand our view and our interrogations to activities that are happening on the green continent. I always don't like call it the black continent. I prefer to call it the green continent. So good to be here, and I'm happy to see you.
Thank you so much. Of course, let's unveil PK, Pastor Kenneth Mambwe. He's back on set as usual every Sunday. PK, welcome and good evening to you.
Good evening, IP. Good evening to my colleagues, the panelists here, and a warm welcome to our dear viewers, wherever you may be watching us from. It's always an absolute honor to be able to interact with the audience across the nation as we delve into very critical issues that affect our country, Zambia.
Correct. I hope, PK, I hope Comrade Chiwoyu and Mike Sichula, you, during the course of the week, you ate moderately.
That is if there's anything to eat.
All right, that's the story we are starting with this evening. Of course, as you know that the Anti-Corruption Commission, SEC, issued a very strong statement, and of course
condemning
the farewell remarks attributed to the former or immediate past Minister of Health in Dr. Alex Katakwe, the man, of course, who held a meeting with his staff former staff at the Ministry of Health in Ndeke House, of course, and according to him, he did inform them that there is no harm in you when you begin to eat moderately while serving the people of Zambia. But SEC says, wow, hold on a bit. That is more like inciting corruption in government. In case you missed out the sentiments of the former Minister of Health in Dr. Katakwe, here is a video. All right.
You could just continue whatever you are doing. You are not adopted, no independent. That one I'm serious. No independent will manage you. No
that sounds
independent.
Strong, huh?
So those who want to
give an ultimatum
yes,
to all your members.
Yes, the issue here is
aspirants.
You cannot, my friend. We want this UPN to outlive us. We want UPN to outlive all of us. So you cannot create another political party. This message is very strong on the ground. People want to stand as an independent. But you can UPND. Aina kuza ntosuza chairman nomination. Nikamba pan as your national youth chairman. Constituency youth chairman, wherever you are in the country, no one will go independent. If you're sitting in person to adopt, you won't go independent, you stay in UPND. Campaign for that one is going to be adopted.
How will that happen?
It will happen, you will do it. I can tell you for the first time. If today you ask me, even the opposition will apply the same method. It is time. We need to put things in order. So there will be order. Nakamba kuti siru anaita bwanji anaona nkondo. I'm too much on the ground.
Chairman, what powers are you going to use?
It's not the power. The powers are within the party.
The constitution allows for independent candidates.
Pamene pano, yenda. I have no issues here. IP, today you stand up on your own, you start going as an independent. Now using the structure of the party, I have no problem. You come to the structure of the party, you have been introduced. All these things, you go in their structures. Tomorrow not adopted. I'm not going, no, you're disturbing the vote sky. But if today you just go on your own, Wanyamuka Chabi, as an independent, I have no problem with you. You can go. But those who have gone now in all the constituencies across the country, here where we are strong, where we are weak, as long as you have gone in the structure of the UPN, you have spoken to the chairman of the party at a constituency level, ward, everything. My friend, Sumuzaiona, the issue is only one candidate which is needed. I'm not campaigning. We need to be serious as a party. 4 years Tembo government, 5 years. About this stable. No. It is me, and I've got a list of everyone. Ikasuwa lembani wonsa. Ikafika time yafika time hapa kulibe ya September kulibe kala chemu UPN.
No one can go.
No, kala chemu UPN. No one going anywhere. Kala mu UPN. You can continue. Even the parties are aware. Can we adopt somebody who is not popular? No. Who adopt somebody who is popular, but the one who is
That's
popular.
a dictatorial behavior
No.
you're trying to introduce now.
We are managing.
Are you going to block
in
all
the party
those during the
I've said you
the
cannot
filing of
come
nominations?
in the party.
Are you going to block them?
No, listen. You can't come in the party using the structure of the party. You are using the popularity of the president and the party, and then tomorrow you decide to say I'm going independent. You leave it that way. Because everybody who is standing is claiming to be popular. So you divide the vote. You have almost 30, 50 members of parliament who are independent. You are creating another political party. Are they going to be loyal to you as UPND? Are they going to be loyal to the president? No. Me as a national youth chairman have said, this message, it has decampaigned me. People don't talk, but I want just to tell you that Suza Imilila. It ends there. Suza Imilila. The party will choose on one person. No, that one is like a Tonse. We campaign for the same person. No nomination. Unless maybe I won't be the national youth chairman. Even if I'll be the trustee, still more will apply that method to each and everybody. Because it helps the party to stay in government for so many years and to ensure that the president we have and the party manifesto and its vision benefits the people there outside.
What will happen to those that who dare to file in their nominations?
They won't file in.
How? What will happen to them?
After saying UPND. But those who have done on their own like they have never done in UPND, I have no problem. We can go as an independent. We will never see him there. The good part, we have got a list of those who have used UPND in every constituency. We have got that list. And on this 2026, even the election which I'm more alert, it's this election.
Wow.
Party president or the structure across the country. President and the party. Let's make the party become popular, that even if any innocent comes, we put him there, he wins an election. That's what we want. The president.
Thank you so much. Let's get into it, Comrade Max Chula. Those are the remarks and the words, a farewell or rather words of the former Minister of Health, Dr. Katakwe. What do you make of his remarks and also the statement by the SEC? Does this, can we equate this to Uomba Muivala, Alia Muivala?
Well, thank you very much, IP. It is quite unfortunate that the former minister had to find himself in such a very wrong situation and compromising situation by what he said. I want to liken it to the song that was done by my brother Danny Kaya. That song that talks about Kalasti always brings problems. So you know that this farewell meeting exposed Dr. Alex Katakwe in terms of what he believes in, because at the time he issued that statement to his officials at the Ministry of Health, he didn't even apologize, because according to him, that was okay. It was right in his face, and there's absolutely nothing wrong. If a friend of yours has got a company, then they win a contract under the ministry of whatever your ministry you are under, then you just show them an appreciation, say, thank you very much for the contract that went through, here's money for talk time. Because he justified it to say there's a consultation fee, there's a lot of terms that he used to justify his point. But it was quite unfortunate. He didn't apologize on that day. On that day, he didn't see anything wrong.
Yes.
He only apologized after the Anti-Corruption Commission came out and rebuked him to say this statement that you made is actually against the fight against corruption. That is when he said, oh, I made a mistake. Then he apologized. So that apology to me is not something that he believes in it, because he justified his point when he was making that short fair message. And again, that's why, you know, some of these things that you do when you're in power, they create a lot of problems. When you look at the handbook, the ministerial handbook that is given to permanent secretaries as well as ministers and everybody, it is also very clear to say the amount of gift you are going to receive wherever you go has to be accountable. You need to be accountable to the chief executive officer of the ministry. We saw a lot of farewell, I would call them parties that were organized by the ministry, different ministries. So I asked myself, were those part of the national budget, or is it that the members of staff contributed money? But again, if you are a minister, you are a director, you hold a position in government, when you receive a gift, you need to declare that gift to the chief executive officer of the ministry. If it goes beyond what you're supposed to receive and you can take home, that gift should be handled to the government. But in this case, we saw a lot of these fair parties that were organized. Other ministries went as far as hiring venues outside government. So you ask yourself, was this something that was budgeted for in the 2026 budget, to say as we go towards the end of our term, we should have, each minister should have a farewell to give thanks to, so that you can be appreciated by members of staff. But sadly, some ministers, former ministers, found himself in an awkward position, such that he was made to apologize, but the damage has already been made.
Right.
Because people now are saying, oh, so if the minister is able to say that there's nothing wrong by doing this, probably he could have gotten a kickback, even if it was a short period of time that he was at the ministry. Maybe he could have facilitated for something. Then someone says, my minister, thank you very much. Since you came to this ministry, I never had an opportunity, but because you are there, I managed to get this contract.
Go home and eat moderately.
Yeah, so maybe, but you know, next time I think if he's going to be given a chance, he needs to be very careful whatever he says in public, because it causes a damage.
Right.
Like you told me to say, is it the issue of Uomba Mwibala? If you remember, even late President Lungu spoke about that, that saying, Uomba Mwibala, Aria Mwibala. But he also said, don't eat the seed.
Correct.
But you saw how the UPND got that and campaigned, used it to campaign against President Edgar Lungu. Even if people came to defend President Edgar Lungu, the damage had already been made.
So the statement is the same?
The statement is the same. So it's only that today, very few civil society organizations condemned that. Even the opposition didn't say much to it. But I just blame the opposition, because if you don't take advantage of similar certain loopholes in government, Zambians are going to think, I think what the minister said, it is okay.
It's okay. All right, let's hear from Comrade Chiwoyu. What is your take over that video and the remarks issued by the former minister vis-a-vis the statement from the ACC?
Well, I think my take on this is very simple. Look, I didn't know who Alex Katakwe was until he became minister, because even his participation in parliamentary debate was quite lukewarm.
Was not visible.
Yeah.
Correct.
But what is very crucial about that revelation is that it tells us who the person is, because for a person who is a minister to show such tremendous tolerance levels for corruption, okay, it's frightening, okay? Look, if you're going to have a minister, and he was not just a minister of any ministry, he was the minister of health.
A lucrative ministry.
And it's an epicenter for corruption.
Correct.
Okay? I don't know if there's any ministry that has recorded more incidences of corruption in Zambia.
Yeah.
More than the Ministry of Health.
I agree with you.
Okay, so now this is the guy who is entrusted with the police direction, the shepherding that ministry, and he sees nothing wrong with how we pay lawyers for legal fees. Okay, he sees nothing wrong with giving a gratification to a public worker, a civil servant, for executing their duty. A civil servant who every month is entitled to a salary. Okay? He says he thinks that how we give our pastors, and please forgive me, I'm not talking about you, how we give our the tithe at church. Okay?
Or pastor's basket.
Pastor's basket.
Yeah.
He thinks that is equivalent to giving a gratification to a public officer for giving you a contract. Okay? So now, this is the simple question. What happens if I bidded for a contract with you, we get the same contract, I go back and say, here is something for talk time, thank you, and IP doesn't go back? What happens when there is the next tender? Okay, who is going to be preferred between the two of us? Okay, so
I'll be nowhere.
You'll be nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, when I look at Katakwe, actually, it's is it Michelle Obama who said that power doesn't change you, but it reveals who you are?
Oh, yes.
So before Katakwe became Minister of Health, we didn't know that his levels or his tolerance levels for corruption were that high.
Yeah.
So for me, my take away from the ACC is that if the UPND, which for a long time has campaigned sustainably on being an anti-graft, the first point of decision or signal for me would have been not to adopt that guy as a member of parliament.
Right.
It should have been cast away.
Shelved.
It should have been shelved away, given time to reflect, because like Mike has observed, first of all, that guy didn't see anything wrong with what he said. If there was no backlash, if there was no reaction from ACC, he would have walked free. Believing with a very, very stable conscience, believing that what he said, the police direction he gave to his officers at the Ministry of Health, that they can accept gifts after awarding the contract, was perfectly fine. So when I look at this scenario, I think the president should have sent a strong signal by telling his party, this guy should not be anywhere near government. And I just hope that in an event that he wins, and because he's been adopted in the UPND stronghold, chances are very high that he might win and come back as a member of parliament, and being member of parliament, he will be eligible for appointment as to the executive. So I just hope that when that time comes after August, for the sake of decency, for the sake of progress, he should never be anywhere near the executive least not near the Ministry of Health, because we know the problems that we have had with the Ministry of Health. And for me, the UPND to have adopted that guy as a member of parliament, as a candidate, is a missed opportunity, because remember, fighting corruption is not when it has occurred, it's before.
Yeah.
Okay, that is why even the ACC, when you look at their approach to fighting corruption, I think the emphasis has been more on preventative rather than reactionary. So now if you're going to have a guy who is going to stand on the podium in the glare of publicity with cameras in front of him, microphone, and says, no, you can actually get a gratification for as long as it's not big. So, because I don't even know, I mean, PK, how do you quantify eating moderate?
It's difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
At what point do you say this is moderate eating and now this becomes corruption?
Corruption is corruption.
Yeah.
Correct. I was to come back to you later on. PK, your bite over this conversation we're having.
There's a portion of scripture in the Bible that says, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So when he said what
That's
he
deep.
said,
Yeah.
when he said what he said, he was speaking from the overflow of the heart.
Wow.
That's who he is. You know.
Wow.
So there's something about politics and eating. There's a man called Daniel Mkombwe who said who propagated what now is commonly known as politics of the belly.
Politics mazwano nkulia.
So unfortunately for most of our people, when you see what we have seen in the last few days, when members of the same family, members of the same party, attacking each other, it's not about their passion to serve.
Right.
It's about their greediness that should be satisfied by an endless, perhaps, array of opportunities before them, but you can only access if you are inside with a certain key position. Because IP, if you want to stand for Lusaka Central and your heart is to save, and I also want to stand, I'll say I think IP is more popular than myself. If this is about service, I'll let my colleague go and say.
Go ahead.
But the moment I begin to attack and hate you and do all manner of things, it begins to show that this is much more than just their desire to save. If I can hate a person, a human being, and yet my desire is to go and save another human being, I should never inflict pain on the next person. And therefore, what Katakwe said there reviews the deep-seated greediness in most of the people aspiring to high office. It is about access to our meager resources, unfortunately, for their own benefit. There are very few people who are aspiring to go and serve, who have a pure heart, who will question every form of gift that they will receive. In my young life, I remember when Mr. Bob Schinga was a Minister of Commerce at that time, and I was working for a parastatal as the head of communication. My CEO at the time gave me some brand new phones, to go and give to selected cabinet, ministers. And I took, including the secretary to cabinet at the time was Mr. Dr. Msiska. No, I took a parcel for him. I took this one, and only one minister, in the name of Honorable Bob Schinga. I believe you are watching. I respect you, sir. He said to me, Kenneth, thank you very much. Go and tell your MD, thank you very much. But how much is this phone worth? If it is worth more than what I'm entitled to receive as a gift, please take it back.
Wow.
There's few men and women of integrity. And for me, Mr. Bob Schinga, in the course of duty as a politician and my interaction with him, demonstrated that there are few men of high caliber, morality, integrity, who are not driven by greed. He told me, take the phone if it is beyond what I am allowed to accept as a gift. It registered something on my mind, and I'm hoping that all these people who are going to serve as councillors, as members of parliament, and even a plethora of all these people are standing as presidential candidates. I hope their hearts are in the right place, because clearly at 60 what years old,
61.
61 years old since independence, we shouldn't be where we are if the hearts of our leaders were in the right places. So, Mr. Katakwe, really you exposed yourself, and you don't deserve to ever get anywhere closer to administration of public resources, because you can corrupt everybody by just what you said.
Are those remarks punishable?
Well, I don't know the issues.
Inciting what may be deemed as corruption?
The Anti-Corruption Commission issued that statement. I'm not too sure whether there is any other action they can take. But I noticed also the State House issued a press statement distancing, themselves and the government from
that
those.
Was after ACC issued a statement.
I think.
Or prior?
I think it was prior.
Okay.
It was prior. I think
Which is
SEC
good.
reacted to the State House,
Which is good.
Statement. So it was good, because you know what? If State House didn't distance the government from those sentiments, everyone would have believed that that is what the UPND stands for. Because remember what what messed up the PF? When the president then said, it's the same sentiment. And if the UPND didn't distance themselves, everyone would have believed that birds of the same feathers flock together.
But I think for me, what is very important also is to have a citizenry that is alert. Okay.
Right.
Look, our politicians believe that Zambians have got short memories. So, if we collectively as a country believe that corruption is not the way to go, then we should keep our eyes open, so that if we see Katakwe near the executive, we should be able to protest to say, this guy not here, not near. So what is important is both the media and the citizens is to keep awake and ensure that this guy doesn't come close to the corridors of power. Because like Pastor has said, he will corrupt everyone. So what is preventative for me is to ensure that that guy doesn't come close to.
Wow, interesting. Gentlemen, let's move on to another big story. Now, last week I think we spoke much about the nominations of presidential candidates, and finally the nominations are done. We know from where we stand now how many political parties have successfully filed in their nominations, but also we know who their running mates are from this minute. Now, just to make mention that 14 presidential candidates have so far filed in their nominations before the Electoral Commission of Zambia returning officer, Madam Mwangala Zalome State Council at Mungushi Conference Center, where the event was held. Now, the 14, we have Dr. Richard Silumbe under the leadership movement. That's a picture there of Dr. Richard Silumbe. We also have on number 2, Dr. Fred Membe under the Socialist Party, and the running mate happens to be Madam Dolika Banda. Number 3, we've got President Harry Kalaba, Citizens First, and Moses Mawere happens to be his running mate. On number 4, we've got the independent, or rather Mr. Given Mwenyachansa under the Movement for Economic Emancipation. That's MEEE. Of course, this is a new face altogether coming into the land, contesting the presidential elections for the first time. We also have Brian Munduile under the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity, NRPUP, and the running mate in this regards is Makebi Zulu. Number 6, we've got Honorable Howard Kunda under the Zambia Wake Up Party, and of course Mio happens to be his running mate. We've got also that's one Kelvin Hualiafuwe who happens to be Zambia Must Prosper Party, ZMP, and the running mate he picks on Miuna Katolo. We also have Dr. Brian Mushimba under the Organized People's Party, and he is going to pick on Andford Maele Banda as his running mate. We also have Mr. Xavier Chungu rather under the Liberal Democrats Party. That's the former intelligence spy, as it were. And we've got President Hakainde Hichilema under the United Party for National Development, UPND, maintaining Madam Mutale Nalumango. We also have Mr. Akim Anton Njovu of the Democratic Union, DU, as a new face altogether. And we've got Mr. Dr. Ritual Siamunene under the New Focus Party. And not forgetting the independent presidential candidate, that is Madam Dr. Reverend Given Katuta. These are the faces you have this year, and as far as the elections are concerned, and we can simply say that all the 14 have made it to the to the ballot, provided if there will be no any challenge or rather petition within the 7 days, which is provided for in the Constitution. Remember, the Constitution provides for a petition or a challenge in the court of law in an event where you feel that one of the presidential candidates on that list is got some cases or some other issues. You can petition within 7 days. But once the 7 days lapses, then these faces and the names I've mentioned will be on the ballot this year. Mike Sichula, here we are.
Yeah, we are here.
We know now the list.
Yeah, I think it was on a week ago or so. I did react to the numerous presidential candidates that were there. That I said that not all of them will make it on the ballot.
Yeah.
And today we have 14, which is a drop by
From
2.
30.
Yeah, from 14 candidates from 30 who had aspired. When you compare with what happened in 2021, we had 16 presidential candidates against the 7.2 voters. Then this year we have got 14 presidential candidates against 8.7 million voters. And in all cases, in 2011 and 2026, the population of voters for women was higher than men, as well as the youths was also higher than was higher in 2011 and now. I mean in 2016. So in 2021, sorry, in 2021, the population of youths in that register was high. And as well as this year, it is high. It's standing at over 40%. So when you look at the 14 that we have today, we have Mr. Richard Sirumbe, who is making a comeback, as well as Mr. Hari Karaba and Dr. Fred Membe and Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. We can't talk about him because this will be his 8th attempt. So there are more new entrants. When you look at Dr. Brian Mushimbe, when you look at Akin Njovu, you look at Richie Osamnene, Xavier Chungu, Dan Pule, and others. I mean, the only female, Dr. Katuka. So you can clearly see that now, at least, from the list that we have, you can pick some front runners to say, okay, this probably is going to be the front runner. And I think I'll stick by what we said last week. From the 14, the front runners in terms of the opposition, you are talking about Hari Kalava, Fred Membe, Brian Mundubire, and
the incumbent.
Come again? And the incumbent, yes. These are the 4 front runners. So the 10 they are also going to do their part in their own capacity in terms of how they are going to campaign. That is what will be key. What is your campaign message? Then there's also has been a talk to say there's one province that has dominated in terms of presidential candidates. These are coming from the northern Wapura bloc. That is for obvious reasons. As we all know that I think Dr. Alicho Siamunene is coming from Southern Province, as well as President Hakainde Hichilema, Southern Province. So the pattern of, in terms of regional balancing, yes, the Northern Wapura bloc, as well as Eastern, they are dominating on that list. I think that cannot be said that the other regions are selfish. It's about your willingness to participate in a presidential election. We have, for instance, we have Haiva Amududu. He didn't want to participate. He's under the UPND alliance. We had Charles Miropi from Western Province. He also didn't want to participate. He's belonging to the alliance. So it's not that the other regions that are appearing on that list, the individuals that are there are selfish individuals who want power at all costs. It's about your willingness to participate. If you don't want to participate, you join an alliance and you bury your presidential ambitions. But if you've got presidential ambitions, this is why we have Howard Kunda, Brian Mushimbe, first entrance, Dr. Sevia Chimba, first entrant, Chungu is there. So it is about presidential ambitions. It's not about being selfish. No. So when you look at the presidential, in as much as you'd want to say these regions want to be presidents at all costs, if we move away from the presidential, we look at the parliamentary, you're also going to agree that the other region that is not on the presidential list is so dominating on that front. Wow. So it's not about the other regions like the Bembas are
more thirst for power.
Or more thirst for power, as you put it. No, it's not like that. It's about your willingness to participate in a presidential race. If you feel you cannot compete against others, or if you want to compare and contrast, to say there are more Bembas here, there are more Easterners here, let's also look at the parliamentary candidates. You are going to be shocked as to how many parliamentary candidates from the southern region, northwestern and western have actually come forward to the Zambians to say, I can also be a member of parliament.
Right. It's a big story. I'll still come back to you, just gather more thoughts. Comrade Shiwayu.
Okay, so as a scholar of democracy and just a person who has taken a lot of interest in our politics, when I look at the nomination that were announced by the ECZ last week, and I'm hoping that they will be confirmed this week, because obviously there's a provision within the law that someone can petition, and I'm hoping that it doesn't reach those matters. Look, before last week, I was very worried that the UPND was going to go into this election without a strong opponent, okay? Which, to their advantage or in their wisdom, it looks okay. But it would have been a great disservice to the country's democratic credentials. If you look at our post-19, when did we revert to? Is it 91? 91. Yeah, post-91, we've always had this trajectory in which our democracy has been shaped by the ruling party against the next alternative. If I were to run some sort of a regression view, I think the last time we had a presidential or a ruling party with a very weak opposition must have been 1996.
1996.
Yeah.
UNIP
when UNIP withdrew, and then we were left with the late Dean Mungomba.
Correct.
Yeah. But post that, we've always had this strong opposition as an alternative to what we are getting in the government, and that has helped to shape both our policy and also our ability to choose as a people. In the last 4 years or so, 4.5 years, now going into 5, we've seen a very aggressive approach by the UPND to remove the opposition, which was the PeP, okay, and they were almost succeeding. I don't know how, after all is said and done, we are going to sit here after this election and explain that we are the party that came out number 2 in 2021 and it's unable to be on the ticket 5 years later. Okay. We will have to reflect on this, how we have managed to, or how we...
Very bad precedent.
It's a bad precedent, okay? And it's not the making of members of the PeP that today the PeP is not on the ballot, okay? What we see and this is my subjective view, I want to look at Munduvile and Makebi's alliance as the reincarnation of the PF spirit.
Yeah.
Okay? I could be wrong, but this is my subjective view. And when I look at the support base, the amount of interest that this alliance, or this, it's not an alliance, but this partnership between Mundubile and Makebe is generating, you get a sense that it is riding on the green foundation, okay,
Correct.
on the PF bedrock.
Correct.
So there's a sense that Zambians are trying to identify, those that believed in the PF are trying to identify themselves with the partnership of Makebe and the Mundubile. So it gives you some relief. You don't need to like the PF, by the way, but as a party, as an institution, and as a product of democracy, it needed to exist and it needed to be protected. So there's a sense that I get that the Mundubile and Makebe alliance will be able to galvanize those people that felt helpless after the PF went into the state it was, of course with a lot of assistance from the government. I mean, the record of government officials attempting to kill the
Evidence
PF.
is there.
The evidence is there. I mean, and it's insurmountable evidence, and there hasn't been any serious or credible attempt by anyone in government to deny the fact that government had a hand in the decimation of the PF. So when I look at this election, I believe that traditionally we have had a 2 or 3 horse race in most cases, especially when we had the PF, the MMD, and the UPND. But over time, I think we have seen in the last post-2016, we have seen a 2 horse race, which for me has been very good, because again, in a democracy, you don't want to have an election where you have to choose from 24 people, okay?
Not at all.
It becomes a circus, okay? It becomes a joke. So for the sake of policy formulation, for the sake of stability, for the sake of consistency, and for the sake of progress of our democracy, I always favor a 2-horse race approach. And I think it has worked in Zambia. I think it has worked in all progressive democratic jurisdictions. And I think, I'm hoping that the Makebe Mundubile partnership will be allowed by the ECZ, will be confirmed next year, and then it forms the basis for the shape or the trajectory we are going to take, and also I would call it the outlook of the August election. And then obviously with that approach, it will give us a sense to have 2 credible political parties that we can choose from. And once we pick one of the 2, either to continue with President Hichilema and the UPND, or to look at this alternative that we mirror in being a strong opposition. Because whether you like it or not, for us who believe in democracy, forget the political parties, just democracy as a system of governance, we believe that there has to be an opposition.
Interesting. PK, when you look at all these faces and the names that have come out, and the 14 presidential candidates, what do you make of what has come out now?
Well, first of all, I must say that it's a good number. When you look at the 29 or 30 that we initially had, it was too crowded, and you think that there was going to be an unavoidable split of votes. And one of the key things that has come out of this adoption process is how certain opposition presidential candidates have opted to become number 2s. Makebe Zulu, from being a presidential candidate to becoming number 2 to Brian Mundubile. Mawere, from being a presidential candidate even after paying to becoming number 2 to Harry Kalaba. You have also Andiford Banda,
correct,
becoming number 2 to Brian Mushimba. I don't know who else, but that is a very good indicator that people had to reflect. Some of the presidential candidates had to reflect on where their
chances of winning.
Yes, and they've come together. So having 14 on the ballot, I think is a good against what we had 16.
Yes.
You know, in the previous
2021.
in the previous election 2021. Now, having said that, one of the miscalculations of whoever was trying to decimate the opposition, one of their biggest miscalculation was to keep saying there is no opposition. President Chilema is going to go through.
Yeah.
They even started saying UPND will lose parliamentary candidates, but the presidential ballot is
guaranteed.
Is guaranteed. That has been the notion, that has been the assertion, the premise on which it has been built. I do not think there is a strong foundation to that claim, because as Chiwoyu says, when you see, yes, clearly, it has been very intentional to make sure that the PF is not on the ballot, because top of mind recall for citizens, when they see PF and the bot on the ballot, automatically they would wish to go and vote there. The other, I said it last week, and I'm going to say it again here, because it has happened. Due to what we predicted, the FDD also has been completely eradicated from the ballot. These two parties were a target because some people somewhere thought these two political parties are very visible, have participated in elections, people know them, so let's kill. Okay, that is what has happened. It is not a fact that can be disputed, that PF has been eliminated from the ballot, FDD has been eliminated from the ballot. But one thing that is a shocker is how people have migrated from a dismatted PF, from a dismatted FDD into a people's movement, to the extent that, from what I can see, people will not be looking at the logo of Munduvile, they will be looking at the face of Munduvile.
And the lamp.
And the lamp. They will not be looking at the colors of the logo
They
of
will
the
not
party.
read even the political party.
No, even if the party is so new, they will now, people will be voting on the face. So though people have been saying there is no opposition, thinking because there is no PF and there is no FDD and whatever, it's a miscalculation. The momentum that we have seen rising, and most people still believe that even when you have the rising of Munduvile and Makebi, you still have Dr. Fred Membe and Citizens First Harry Kalava. There are certain people who still feel these should find a way of meeting and working together with the others, because then you lessen the splitting of the vote. You can imagine President Harry Kalava came out number 3 in 2021. He has built momentum. He's gonna command some good numbers. If he decided to say, I am going to work with these ones, President Membe came out number 4, I think.
Number 4 thereabouts.
If I'm not mistaken, number 4 or 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me check back number 4.
He also brings with him quite some substantial amount of support and voters. If these
so Dr. Membe PeP, as you proceed, came out number 5.
Came out number 5.
Number 4 slot, we had Andford Banda.
Right, Andford Banda. So you can clearly see that if these can come and work together, they will definitely provide a very strong opposition against the UPND that has been claiming that there is no opposition. Opposition really is the people, not the political parties.
Right. Interesting, gentlemen. As we wind up from this topic, let's look at something, of course, which was in people's mouth. Many people are asking, how will Brian Munduvile find himself on the ballot? Let's begin to interrogate. How did he manage to just navigate what was deemed to be possible, roadblocks, and finally he's on the ballot, abandoning the FDD on the last minute, and is given another slot to go and file in the nominations. How did he manage? Is this plan B, gentlemen? Comrade Sichola?
The PF The PF have had a lot of problems, which is why they split into different groups, as PK and Chioi has alluded to.
Yeah.
That was not their wish. And in one of the analysis programs, I did spoke about the 2 Ds,
Yeah.
which the UPND were using. One is they had created a design to make sure that at all costs the PF should not mobilize, but they should have time to be in court. And these politicians, they knew that we are not going to have our PF back, and they started looking at the other options.
Yeah.
This is why we saw the formation of Tonse, Oka, and other alliances. But as time went by, it was very certain to Zambians and to Mundubile that he was going to be a presidential candidate under Tonse, but using the special purpose vehicle of the FDD. Everybody spoke to it.
Yeah.
However, when we spoke, I think, on the show again to say, when you see the likes of Binwe Mpundu and others complain that the ECZ should not disadvantage Mundubile, we said that those gentlemen were not speaking from without. They were speaking from an informed point of view. And to the surprise of many Zambians, not to them. I don't think to them it was not a surprise.
Yeah.
They had these trump cards to say, if this doesn't work, we're going to present this. And I remember I spoke about Mr. Mundubile could probably have had the 3 or 5 adoption certificates from member partners of the alliance.
Right.
In the event the FTD, like we thought the FTD was going to be the special purpose vehicle, something, maybe someone somewhere tips them to say, when you put in this, you are not going to go there. They were going to change before that day. And what we saw was the unveiling of a new political party. And we are told that it was registered a long time ago, but it was not known to members of the public. Even to, I remember even on the list of members of the Tonse, I don't recall seeing that political party amongst the,
It wasn't there.
amongst the members of that. But the good part is that finally they had to file in, and equally the statement that the fears that we spoke about was also alluded to by Mr. Mundubile, because he said he spoke about something like where that advert by the late Southern to say my heart is under my feet. Zambians didn't know whether Brian Mundubile would be declared valid. So people were waiting to see what was going to happen. But this is politics. And the way they played their cards, it was something that had to work for them. Because, look, you cannot have this good momentum, this goodwill from members of the public, then you fail to file in. Zambians were going to rush out at Mr. Mundubile and others to say, you are not serious. We gave you the morale and we showed you that we are ready to back you. But meanwhile, your technical team failed you to be on the ballot. So they had to do all they could do to make sure that they were on the ballot.
Wow.
The good part is that they were also supported by Makebi Zuru, who dropped his presidential ambitions to be a running mate. And again, when you look at the Lizard Party, it is a completely new political organization. A lot of people thought Mr. Zuru was going to ride on the NCP, but that was set aside to say, okay, let's go with this, our vision. And it worked out. And for me, as I wind up, it justifies their position to move away from PF and set base somewhere. Because look, Mr. Mao Sampa, who was saying, who was more or less like downplaying the efforts of Mundubile, Makebi Zuru and others. Where is he today?
He's going independent.
He has failed to file in on the PF he said he had. He had gone as an independent. So the the damage that has been done in terms of upholding democratic tenets in Zambia, Zambians are going to ask themselves, as my elder brother here said, how come we had PF 2011, 2016, 2021, 2026, it's nowhere to be seen. The same issue, Zambians are going to ask again to say, how come we had PeP in 2021, in 2016, PeP is a church. So in terms of uphold the record of the UPND, not, okay, let me say, under the UPND administration, in terms of the record of political parties participating in general elections, Zambians are going to ask at some point, how possible is it that the Patriots for Economic Progress were participating as a political party under the PF administration, but they could not participate under the UPND? I think I'll end there.
You end there. Comrade Chioyu,
Yeah,
you know, during the course of the week on Wednesday, I think I gathered a lot of information in the background in preparation for this program we have this evening. And something that was, of course, shocking, and also one of my reporters was on site. He shared with me something that was quite, shocking. I'm told that the very day when Brian Munduwile was filing the nominations, of course, when other presidential candidates were filing in, it was not as, hot, crowded than the Brian Munduwile slot. The moment Brian Munduwile and Makebi Zulu stepped in, reporters were shocked to see the international community and the diplomatic corps also stepping into the auditorium. Did that put pressure maybe on the commission? What does it mean from the analytical point of view?
Well, as an analyst and as a stakeholder, oh, by the way, let me be the first one on this program to actually pronounce the name of that political party. we're just saying Munduwile and Makebi, but the name of the political party is actually the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity. So let's have it on
NRPUP.
This is the party we are talking about.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. But for me, the crucial point that the UPND has missed the last 4 years, 4.5 years, going into 5 years, is that their approach at sustaining their stay in power through the weakening of the opposition was a totally wrong approach. If I were them, they should have invested a lot in growing their party, in strengthening their party, in sustaining it, rather than focus on annihilating the opposition. Because remember, life does not provide for vacuum. Each time there's a vacuum, someone will have to fill it. You've just referred to the incident on Wednesday. I was online the Wednesday afternoon. There was that time when the ECZ processed the Munduwile Makebi papers. They made the initial statement that they were okay, and then they went into the backstage and said, no, we need to clarify something. You should have observed the tension that was created in the country. Within, was it about 30, 40 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone was sitting on their feet. Okay? And that never happened with the other opposition political parties.
Yeah.
For me, we pushed the country into a situation where we were all sitting on the edge. Because I shudder to imagine what would happen if Madam Mwanga Zalumis emerged and announced to the world that, as a matter of fact, okay, Munduwile and Makebi do not qualify. I'm not trying to speculate. I know it's on TV, I'll be guided.
Yes.
But truth be told, this decision to attempt to block Munduwile, okay, and it was there. I don't expect anyone to say there was no attempt.
Yeah.
We've just referred to the PF itself being thrown into the bin. We had the FDD. I'll ask you a question, IP, as our host. After what happened to, or after Makebi and Munduwile left FDD, where are those 10 provincial chairmen who went to petition the decision? Where are they today? These are the questions you should be asking.
They've disappeared.
They are not funny
failing to
questions.
grow the
These are-
party now.
yeah, these are serious questions.
They haven't
because
even
both-
found in.
No, they haven't. Okay, and you see, for a party like FDD, it not fighting this year, this might spell the end of FDD, because how are they going to mobilize come 2031? Okay, but then when it comes to the issue of Mundubile and Makebi fighting, it was crucial and very important for our democracy as a country. And also the fact that there was there was that tension, okay, there was that interest, there was that moment where everything came on a standstill, when everyone was on the edge, gives you an idea of how the Zambians look at their democracy. Okay, because look, if Munduvile and Makebi were ordinary competitors in this race, we were not going to have that 30 minutes of suspense that we had. When Madame Zalumis went to the back room to refine, I don't want to speculate what they were trying to do. So the key lesson is not even for us as Zambians, but this is a point of reflection for the UPND as a political party, because the UPND has consistently attempted to annihilate all visible opposition, in the belief that in the absence of the opposition, then it was going to be a foregone conclusion that President Hichilema was going to walk into the next election seamlessly with no competition. And that is why they were reminding us for the last 1.5, 2 years that, look, the reason the president was going to win, not because of the good policies or the good decision, was purely because there was no opposition. That has been the message of the UPN.
Yeah.
So I think they reflect on, I hope they reflect on this scenario we found ourselves in on Wednesday.
We hope so. PK, your bite over the tension, which was...
My quick thoughts, you asked about how Munduvile navigated this, puzzle that was before him. Let me pick it from a very historical point of view.
Right.
It was on this channel that we ran an opinion poll about who is likely to emerge as the front runners in 2026. At the time, Munduvile was just in the shadows of his peers as a parliamentarian. We ran a poll. Munduvile was not running a political party. He was just a member of parliament. But what was surprising is how he shot from being a parliamentarian to overrun, some existing opposition political party figures, to a very commanding and visible lead that Zambians looked at him as a potential candidate. It is the opinion poll that we carried on KBN TV, to which Honorable Brian Munduvile is very well aware and acknowledged that your opinion poll, gentlemen, gave me the courage and the impetus to believe in myself.
The first opinion poll, for that matter.
When that happened, we saw Brian Munduvile engage in gear 5. Today, the whole PF machinery must be thanking Brian Munduvile, because after that opinion poll, and Brian Munduvile started mobilizing underground, they all rose against him and said he's causing division, he's power hungry, he doesn't want to work with the real PF ghosts. He's a project
of the
UPND.
I remember we were also attacked as a media house.
Yes,
that
they called him names.
Our opinion poll was not genuine.
I know.
We didn't see the prominence of Brian Munduvile.
So they called Brian Munduvile names. But why am I bringing this into context? Is that when Brian Munduvile was called names and he began to mobilize and he found himself with Tonse Alliance, the PF structures called him names. When the issues arose, where did all the PF structures run to? The whole PF structures ran to Munduvile. So you can clearly see that Munduvile was very foresighted. He was ahead of the game. But while he prepared his landing ground perfectly well, the government also helped him.
How?
The state helped him.
How?
because suddenly Munduvire was arrested twice within 1 week. The arrest of Munduvire twice within 1 week propelled his visibility. After that, Munduvire was announced to be the flag bearer on FDD. What happened? FDD was blocked. And again, to his credit, foresightedness and the infrastructure that he built working with his team, they already had another
Plan
option.
B.
And when they jumped to last option of National Restoration Party for
National Unity
and Prosperity, Mwangala Zalomes and the entire ECZ had no option.
Right.
Because then someone begins to look at where Brian Munduvire is coming from and the attempts to stop him. And if you want to stop him at Mulungushi, that is, it does not qualify, then it was going to be very personal. Nothing to do with the fact that it doesn't qualify. It was going to look like this is the only guy that the ruling party is scared of. So the making and the rising of Munduvire has been very phenomenal. We played a part, admittedly so, through that opinion poll, but he picked up the baton, realized that he can make something out of himself. He didn't look at himself as a parliamentarian. He began to look at himself as a potential presidential candidate. And people rallied behind him, helped him to be who he is. So the arrests, the blocking of FDD, all of these things have been working to his advantage. Now, the culmination is when the PF that fought him said, oh, wait a minute, we're going to work together. You asked us to work together, we have agreed with you, we're going to work together. So then you look back and say, politicians, you must sometimes take a pill chill. Or is it to take a chill pill? The same stone the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone.
Right.
So Brian Munduvire, who they said has run away from the PF, the entire PF has gone back to him.
And Makebi is a running mate.
And Makebi is the running mate, and the rest is history.
Interesting. Let's look at another story now from a very bad angle, as we're still talking about the nominations at Mlungushi, which closed last week on Friday. Oh, by the way, gentlemen, I'm told Mdolo he has written to ECZ
Saying what?
that he wants to file in the nomination this week.
Is it about him?
On Monday.
It's a you see what I said last week?
Yeah.
I said the ECZ has come up with a timetable. Opposition political parties must work within the timetable. Mudolo, wherever he sits in South Africa, cannot be dictating what the ECZ should be doing. And I would be shocked if the ECZ accommodated that.
Because the nomination schedule is closed.
It's closed. The president was the last person.
Right.
So how do you reopen it and say, Mr. Mdolo is a special
An
case?
online presidential candidate.
Online presidential candidate who has never stepped his foot in Zambia.
He didn't even do the pre-processing, did he?
He did not.
No.
So,
Wow.
I think the person that could be considered under humanitarian ground, if there's such a term in the electoral process, is
Sean
Tembo.
Yes.
Right. So let's get to Sean Tembo now,
Absolutely.
gentlemen, as you get to that. So Sean Tembo, of course, he did not file the nominations last week, and I gave a very disturbing revelations that his political party, when he went to check on the documents, and of course he came to know via the commission that his name does not qualify to participate in all political activities. And according to Sean Tembo's press briefing, he says his political party was converted or redesignated to a church. What's going on?
2 material unauthorized changes were made to the party's record. The first was the party was recategorized as a church organization whose principal activities were designated as ministry and preaching, as per copy of printout dated 8th May 2026, annexed hereto as Annexure A. This means that the party can no longer undertake any political activities, including filing in a presidential nomination or indeed any election nomination for that matter. The second change was with regard to office bearer. The position of Secretary General was reallocated to 2 office bearers without any authority from the party and without any supporting document, such as a letter from the party or a resolution from the annual general meeting or general conference. These alterations to the party's record were discovered during the filing in process of our presidential nomination at Mulungushi International Conference Center on Wednesday morning, 20th May 2026. Mr. Handav was retained as opposed to the leaving Mr. Njovu as per the written instruction of the party the previous day. The response was that it was decision by permanent secretary of the Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security. It is then become apparent to us that there appeared to be a well-orchestrated scheme to prevent the Patriots for Economic Progress from filing in nominations and participating in this year's general elections at all levels. The party had adopted and nomination fees had been paid by a total of 167 members of parliament, 6 mayors, 57 council chairpersons, and 969 councillors across the country, all of whom have been prevented from filing in their nominations. This is in addition to the disenfranchisement of the PeP presidential candidate, myself, Chanda Katotowe, and my running mate, Mr. Sean Tembo. The total amount on nomination fees paid and wasted currently stands at in excess of 3 million kwacha. This is in addition to a substantial amount of money spent on party mobilization activities over the past 5 years, and several ruined personal careers of candidates who resigned from their respective jobs to stand on the party's ticket in the 2026 general elections. We demand, as we hereby do, that President Hakainde Hichilema must instruct Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security Permanent Secretary, and through him, the acting Chief Registrar of Societies, to restore our party records as they were before the alleged Prince Care outed them from an internet cafe. We further demand that once our party records have been restored, the Electoral Commission of Zambia chairperson, Ms. Mwangala Zalomis, must extend the nomination filing period for the Patriots for Economic Progress to allow our members to file their nominations across the country. Not to do so in view of what she did to the UPND would be discrimination on political grounds against PeP. Such requested actions on the part of President Hakainde Hichilema and Ms. Mwangala Zalomis would be in the interest of democracy, natural justice, and fair play.
In other words, there isn't supposed to be any transaction on any record by a record keeper without the instruction of the owner of the record. And when we went to the Registrar of Societies, the first question we asked them is, can we see the supporting documents on the basis of which these changes were made? And the answer was that the supporting documents, like the president said earlier, the answer was that the supporting documents are in a folder on their computer system, and they are not able to open that folder. Documents. An example is the letter that we wrote, which we're going to share with you on the 20th, in which we told them very clearly. In fact, it is them who proposed that we pick one of the 2 unauthorized secretary generals. And we told the acting registrar, Mr. Njovu is leaving, and we can go to him, he can sign our certificate. This other secretary general we put there is deceased. So we are going to pick Mr. Njovu, and we put it in writing. And just there in the office, the acting registrar started resisting. He said, why don't you put this one? We told him to say, this one is dead. That's why we can't put this one. But he said, no, but you should have put this one. Okay? He said you should have put this one. And despite this letter, when they made the changes yesterday, they removed the one who is living and put the one who is dead.
We need to differentiate between crime and normal political work. What has happened here is crime. And I'm very sure President Hakainde Hichilema will respond, to deal with this criminality.
You should ask the acting registrar of societies, Mr. Jason Mombazi, because he's the one who informed us that the changes were made by a Prince Care from an internet cafe. We asked him who he is, and to us he told us he doesn't know. But maybe when you ask him, maybe he would have recollected his money, and he will be able to tell you who this.
All right, so that's what we are. That's Mr. Sean Tembo, leader of the Patriots for Economic Progress, PeP, together with the presidential man who is supposed to be the presidential candidate, Nichanda Katotowe. Comrade Mike Schula, when was the last time you went to check for your birth records at the Ministry of Home Affairs to authenticate that you are still a male, perhaps? On a lighter note.
Yeah, it's a very sad state of affairs for Sean Tembo. Yes, I know Zambians who have made fun of him. AI has used a lot of memes to dress him into a bishop, like a bishop. But on a serious note, this is not something that the current administration should do underplay, because people are going to question. It is these small issues that are happening, and because you are in power, you are not paying attention to them because it's not affecting you. Because Mr. Sean Tembo, from my days of practicing journalism, I knew him to be a leader of a political party. Yeah. And he has been vocal. Is the only presidential candidate now as a running mate who has been able to produce an alternative budget. He has been consistent as a politician in terms of offering checks and balances. At some point, PeP was in an alliance with the UPND, whilst in opposition.
As a political party.
As a political party. But today, under the UPND administration, these are the baggages that we have put on the PF as an example, where every time the PF is decampaigned by the UPND, they say the PF took away meal allowances for students. It is the same baggages that people will begin to say, under the UPND, a political party was redesignated to be a church. So let's not look at this issue from the funny point of view. You are talking about my birth certificate. Now, when it's like when you get your money, you put it in a bank account, because you know that my money is safe in a bank account. It is the same for details of political party. When you deposit your details to the registrar of societies, you are very sure that my details are safe, and if I want to make any change,
I have to write.
It will not be done remotely. If there are any changes that has to be done without my knowledge as the official office bearer, I should be alerted to say, because political parties leave phone numbers and emails. Someone from the registrar of society should be able to call Mr. Sean Tembo. We have received an email requesting for change of names or change of practice from a political party to a church. Is this the correct position? So the registrar of societies, if they are not going to issue out a comprehensive statement, they are actually embarrassing the central government. And in this case, they are embarrassing the UPND. Because when I'm talking about this, in terms of history, I would say under the UPND, a political party was disadvantaged from participating in an election by way of changing remotely to say you are not a political party, you are a church. And just like that, hundreds of councillors under PeP have been disadvantaged from voting. Remember, voting is a constitutional right, and standing as aspiring for political office is a constitutional right. Now imagine you have your adoption certificate from Patriots for economic progress. You are about to go and you are waiting for your president to be validated so that you can go and file in as a councillor, as a council chairperson, and as a member of parliament. Then last minute you are told, no, your political party is no longer a political party, it is a church. Meaning the action, the electlessness by the Registrar of Societies has taken away the rights of many Zambians who wanted to seek political office under PeP. And remember, again, Mr. Tembo and Mr. Katoto complained that over 4 million kwacha is likely to go to waste. So in terms of, if you spoke about, I don't take him seriously, Mr. Is it William Odolo? I don't take him seriously, but I respect his view to be a political player in Zambia, but him not being in Zambia and trying to dictate how the ECZ should conduct their affairs, I don't take it serious. The person, the President Hakainde Hichilema should consider, because now we don't have a Minister of Foreign Affairs, Home Affairs. There's only the PS Foreign Affairs, Home Affairs. The President, yes, I know he may want to say, no, I don't want to interfere, but this dent, it will fall on the office of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema to say, under your administration, sir, how come PeP, which was your alliance partner before the 2021 election, under your administration, it became a church? How are you going to defend yourself as the sitting government?
I mean, this is the first time we are covering such a story. Comrade Chiwoyo.
I wouldn't really, I wouldn't totally agree with you when you say it's the first time. Maybe we are discussing this. Okay. But if you look at the happenings of the last 4 years or so, okay, there's been a lot of bizarre activities around the Registrar of Societies, okay. Today we were discussing the absence of the PF on the ballot paper, on the ballot for 2026 election. A large part of that maneuver to remove the PF was orchestrated at the Registrar of Societies. How Mao Sampa temporarily became the president of PF was partly because of the activities at the Registrar of Societies. If you care to remember, there was the Registrar of Society who was forced into resignation because of certain attempts to fidget with the documents and change the ownership. So there's been a lot of activities of illegality that has been done at the Registrar of Societies, which are partly to blame for some of the problems we see in the political sphere. So when I look at what's happening what's happening to Tembo's PeP, it's not entirely shocking. Okay. The only thing, of course, we can be shocked that a political party that we have known for the last 7-8 years or so suddenly has been designated as a religious organization. But for me, this is a perfect reflection of the problem that have been happening at the Registrar of Societies. And the buck stops with the president, because the people who are at Registrar of Societies are appointed by the Ministry of Home Affairs, and there is. But again, I want to take it a step further to say that the Registrar of Societies does not just register political parties. So what happens to the integrity of other institutions that are registered under the Registrar of Societies? And some of these things have got, first of all, an effect on the stability of those organizations, the financial obligations, and also their activities, these organizations. So what are the chances that you and I would today register a society, And then tomorrow we wake up, we find that that society belongs to another individual. So this chaos for me, yes, I've seen a lot of activity on social media where people are making memes and making funny out of what is happening to Sean Tembo and his PeP. But it's very indicative of the problem that we have at the Registrar of Societies. Look, I don't need to, we've got some interest that we've registered with at PACRA. Okay, so I don't want to have my interest at PACRA. I go to sleep, wake up the following morning, I find that that company doesn't belong to me and it belongs to another person without any consultation or my prior approval. Okay, so this for me, I know politically it feels good for the UPND that they can wake up, use the Registrar of Societies for Mingalato and everything. But reminder to the ruling party is that power doesn't last forever, okay? There have been parties that were in government previously, they are out of government. Whether the UPND likes it or not, at some point, their time to be out of government will come. Would they want one day to wake up and find that they are no longer members of the UPND, which they did not dissolve themselves, which
Right
they
after
did not
losing
reject?
power.
Exactly. So the stability of these institutions of governance should never be allowed to be tempered with by politics, especially in a country like ours where the bulk of our politics are petty, because what you are creating is a very dangerous future. Because if somebody can, because remember, the Registrar of Society is not a constitutional office. The person, the Registrar of Society, is an official, is a government worker under the Ministry of Home Affairs, subject to the authority of the Permanent Secretary as well as the Minister of Home Affairs. Those officials are also subject or they can be changed. So what happens if the people they don't like take over their positions? So I'm just hoping that the UPND can start looking at these things futuristically and treat them for the seriousness that they deserve, and not to use them out of political expedience, because to have a registrar of society in the manner that the UPND have put it together, they are causing trouble, not just for the country, but also for themselves.
PK, PeP is now a ministry and not a political party. Sad.
IP, this is not a simple matter.
Yeah.
This, by any measure, is a scandal of international proportion. It's a scandal. And it's not a scandal of the Registrar of Societies. It's a scandal of the UPND administration. This has never happened before. To the best of my knowledge, that based on what we have heard, someone called Prince sat in a cafe somewhere in Lusaka, logged into a secure portal of a sensitive institution such as the Registrar of Societies, and even knew where to click to edit and replace it with a church and not a political party, and says now the designation will be worshipping, collecting of offerings and whatnot. That's a scandal. So, first of all, why is it a scandal, IP? You have people celebrating that the UPND has gone unopposed in 6 constituencies. What if PeP was going to file in those constituencies? Where is the celebration of the unopposed? Is it the reason why PeP was prevented because someone knew they are spending 4 million on adoption processes? These are the questions that someone in the courts of law will have to go and answer. Because you can't celebrate that we've gone unopposed when you didn't provide the same opportunity to PeP to go and file. Because today, if the Electoral Commission of Zambia will say, based on the merit of this case, we are going to allow one day PeP to file. They will go and file in those constituencies where there's been premature celebrations of going unopposed. So where is democracy when some institutions that should also provide competition are deliberately, wantonly being blocked? Where is the fairness? Where is the fairness? I mean, as Shua wrote, elections are won through the ballot, not by blocking others.
opponents.
So my view, this is a huge scandal, and we should never gloss over it. We should never even reduce it to comedy. This is, you know what it says, colleagues? That the entire Ministry of Home Affairs is compromised as far as the security architecture of their ICT is concerned. Anyone from anywhere can log on to the system of Bank of Zambia, can log on to the system of Home Affairs, can log on to the system of PACRA, can log on to and change the records of a nation. That is what they are telling the world, to say we are this porous, we are this weak, we can't protect the integrity of our own data, because that information sitting at the Ministry of Home Affairs is government data. Yeah. But if you can allow someone to break in and go and change, you are exposing the weakness of a nation from an architectural point of view. We have no layers of cyber security. Yet we have a cyber security, whatever law, cyber security, smart Zambia. We have all these institutions. What are they doing? If someone who's sitting in an internet cafe can break into the servers of a sensitive government institution, if this doesn't call for a resignation, if this doesn't call for heads to roll, if this embarrassment does not get to be addressed, and the ECZ rising to the occasion to say, let's give fairness to PeP. PeP is not a church. PeP is on our record. They've been participating. You saw the chairperson of ECZ praising leadership movement to say, you have been with us, you have been participating. She could have said the same thing about PeP, because PeP has never been a church. So if ECZ is seriously sincere and to apply the laws of fairness and justice, natural justice, they have to give PeP a listening ear over this matter. This is a scandal that should never be ignored. It's not too late, but it can fracture the integrity of this election.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. Let's move on to another story. Now, we'll be looking at the political violence. I think the campaigns have commenced. The campaigns started yesterday on a Saturday, and all of us are looking forward to having a free and fair campaigns. But however, we've seen the political violence, happening, starting from the ruling party. The party UPND, which is supposed to lead by example, it's actually fighting itself. Honorable Gary Nkombo, a prominent figure in the UPND and in the country of Zambia, he was a victim. He was attacked by his own members. At the time, he was filing in as an independent member of parliament in Mazabuka Central. Let's just have these few videos, and then from there, we'll dive into the conversation.
This is a nomination.
Why? Yeah. Nichane one. What's Nichane?
This is free and fair election. When the government go to be careful. Who is coming to
him? I would like to thank the church that he belongs to, because the church is the cooling point. The church is what balances society. Over and above the church, we have laws. Laws are made for man to regulate the behavior of man. Yes, he called me. Together, he called out my name. Together with those who we suspect were the sponsors of the assailants. It is plain to see that the group that came to attack me and my wife were sponsored by somebody. It is a fact. One, they are not residents of Mazabuka, because these are the residents of Mazabuka. We did have intelligence information the night before that someone, in fact Bilden Aloba, had gathered youths in Mazabuka to commit that crime, and they refused. And he ordered people from Lusaka, and with impunity they did what they did for the whole world to see. I can only forgive them, but forgiving does not mean that we wash away justice. Justice must continue. And I want to put it very clear here before you that I am extremely disappointed that the police in Mazabuka can try to dupe the whole country that they have arrested the perpetrators. It was actually a dress rehearsal. They picked up 5 out of the 20 boys. Some are said to be on the run. They brought cameras to show that they have been arrested. Even Jesus Christ, at the time when he was being persecuted, he spent 3 nights in the tomb. Those young boys, Aloba and them, they came for a visit to the police. They were thrown in the cells for 10 minutes and they were given police bond. That is fair. It is their constitutional right. Even if others are on the run. I personally is one who pursues justice up to the end, Mawaya. And I went to the police, I said, fine, they enjoyed the right to be given police bond. When are we going to court? Because court is an area where we must get to expressly, because there's no need to even adduce any evidence who the assailants were. And let me put this now clear to the police. Do not be manipulated. Simply do not be manipulated. Because what we found, where's Myers? What we found at the police is that one of the assailants went to report Myers, who is in the video, helping me to protect me. This young man has been reported to the police. The video is there for everyone to see that he was in the town clerk's office trying to protect him. So they must open a docket and say he was an assailant. Justice must prevail. The police must not be manipulated. And this will be seen to the conclusive end. You don't do that and get away in order to enjoy the fortune. You don't do that. Dress rehearsal Those boys are free. They're still walking around. Which means society is still in danger. Some were here, but the sponsors were in this church. They were in this church together with their cooperating partners who may not be here.
Thank you.
I am Deputy Chief Mwana Chingwala, and I wish to make a comment on the beating of former Mazabuka MP, Gary Kombo, and the grabbing of adoption certificate from Ichia. Both are from Chief Mwana Chingwala. And that I'm not happy what is now happening with UPND government over mistreating the people of Mwana Chingwala. I wish to ask you whoever is organizing to attack these guys, please to stop it. UPND gave Chipochia an adoption certificate. And immediately when he went to Faro, they said, no, he can't. Why? And then they decide to give it to somebody who is not from our chiefdom. When this town Mazabuka is in our chiefdom, it's not fair. Few days ago, you saw what happened with the Gani Kombo. People from Monze, people from Lusaka, teamed together, hired by somebody, come and attack him. In his own motherland. What the hell is this? Please, UPND should stop this nonsense. We no longer want this. Can they just make up the mind? We need Mazabuka, an MP from our chiefdom. Because this thing, it is a rural constituency which is in our chiefdom. So the MP must be from here. The mayor must be from as well from us. Mazabuka mayor must be from Chief Manachimba. Otherwise, this one, I'm telling you, we are going to ask our lawyers and give the correct advice.
That's Honorable Gary Kombo there being whisked away by the police officers with the help of his wife and Ish. Mike Sichula.
I never thought that one day, under the UPND administration, with President Hakainde Hichilema saying that we ended violent cadreism, that we could see such amount of acts of violence in Mazabuka being inflicted on a former cabinet minister and a UPND member by then, before he went to be an independent candidate. I never thought that such a time would come so soon. The happenings in Mazabuka paints a very, very grim picture on the conduct of the UPND as a political party that does not believe in cadreism, in violent cadreism. It did not end in Mazabuka. The acts of violence were also reported in Chavuma, where two candidates, both issued with adoption certificates, were fighting not outside a government facility, inside a government facility. We thought that was anyway, it is Mazabuka, it's now Chavuma. It went into Monze. Monze, the same issue. We have an aspiring candidate who is complaining that he was beaten and he is a kidney patient. Now you can imagine, he's complaining that he was beaten There are a lot of pictures that are flying all over of people brutally beaten and bruised, assaulted, not by opposition political cadres, UPND cadres beating each other. The same was also reported in Mumbwa. So, what does this say? This tells the nation that the UPND have concentrated on blaming the UPND for being a violent political party.
The PF.
The PF. They have concentrated on blaming the PF as being a violent political party, which I agree, because during the time of the PF, yes, there was lawlessness and controlled cadreism, UPF members going into government offices, harassing and beating of government officials. I thought that ended in the PF, but today I cannot agree with any UPND member, even President Hakainde Hichilema, I cannot agree with him when he says there is no cadreism in the UPND, because we have seen it. There is a member of the UPND who is currently hospitalized in Monze. He's a kidney patient. He was brutally beaten by UPND cadres. Now, the issue here is something that the UPND, they created this monster by themselves. How did they create this monster by themselves, such that their members now are fighting each other? I spoke on this platform when I said, in Chawama, for instance, UPND aspiring candidates have been campaigning, even when it is not time for campaigning. So the same was happening across the country, where the UPND consider those regions to be their strongholds. Their aspiring candidates were left to campaign against the law. They were breaking the law with impunity. The police paid a blind eye. They couldn't do anything. So this is it. They were creating this monster. To them, the UPND, it was okay, because they were popularizing the ideals of the UPND and also maintaining the base and the support of the UPND in these constituencies. But what they forgot was that these people who are aspiring members of parliament, they had invested their time, their resources, and also their aspirations to say, come the day of adoption, the party will give me the adoption certificate because I've been mobilizing. But when they realized that this was not going to work, it was too late. And now they ended up by saying, if you are not adopted, you should not participate as an independent candidate. This is where now they created this problem, where now people now took the law into their own hands to start beating those who are going to vie as independent candidates. So this whole violence that we saw in Chavuma, Mumbwa, Monze, and Mazabuka,
And Livingston.
It was created by the UPND. The UPND leadership created this problem. Now, instead of it being a family affairs problem, it is now a community problem, because we are not sure if those independent candidates and their supporters are going to have it easy in these regions we have spoken about. Because the arrest of those people in Mazabuka, according to Garin Kombo, who was a victim, he says it is a dress rehearsal. He doesn't believe in it. He doesn't believe in it. So you can clearly see that he's not sure if he's going to be allowed to campaign freely with this amount of vengeance that has been targeted at him. So it was created by the UPND, and they have failed to control it.
Right. All right, I'll still come back to you, Comrade Mike, and before I go to Comrade Chiwoyu, permit me, gentlemen, to play other clips. I know, Mike, you talked about the violence in Livingstone, you talked about Chavuma. I'll also take you to Ndola as well, at a civic center. There we saw some UPND members also fighting in that regard. So I know Honorable Garin Kombo is the center of all this issue, but I will try to mix a lot of pictures so to understand the gravity of this matter and as far as political violence is concerned with the UPND, starting from the UPND. Let's have these videos.
I pledge to you.
It remains concerning that while the head of state has consistently spoken against violence, individuals seemingly aligned with the ruling party continue to act in direct contradiction to this position. This culture of anarchy is unacceptable and must be nipped in the bud. Today, we have been alerted to reports of individuals gathered at a nomination center in Choma, threatening to block and harm aspiring candidate Lungowe Sikwibele. It is unacceptable to wait for harm to occur before taking decisive action. We further call on the ruling party to respect and uphold the democratic rights of all citizens, including those who choose to stand as independent candidates. Every eligible citizen has the right to aspire to public office without fear, intimidation, or obstruction. We also urge the Zambia police to rise to the occasion by acting swiftly and proactively to safeguard peace and order in Choma and across the country. Ensuring a secure and violence-free electoral environment is not only necessary, but essential to protecting the integrity of the democratic process. Violence against women in elections remains a major barrier to women's political participation. It must be decisively addressed and brought to an end without delay.
The race to Nakatindi Hall in Lusaka is fast shaping up after the closing of mayoral filing in of nominations by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, with 6 candidates successfully filing in. Among the successful candidates include 3 independent candidates, Simon Mwila, Namachia Banda, and Crispin Kambole. Vlogger Simon Chitambala Mwewa filed in on the UPND ticket.
All right, so that's why we are, Comrade Chiwoyu. As I come back to you, when you talk about the political violence, gentlemen, within the UPND, there's one video I feel that we have been ignoring, all of us. There's one interview we did here on KBN TV with one Gilbert Liswaniso, if you remember, talking about in the adoption processes and stuff like that. And he was blunt. He made mention that no one in UPND will be allowed to go independent. And my question, I remember, was what will happen if one decided to go independent? And he said, we shall manage you. You know,
and
so
it was not only here.
He also spoke.
He spoke at
Woodland Stadium.
Woodlands,
the presence of the president.
Yes.
As well as at Mulungushi International Conference.
Correct.
And he used the same issue. My youths will manage you.
Sure. Well, maybe let me play the video for Gilbert Liswaniso, so that we have that background. Let's have the video for the National Youth Chairman, Mr. Liswaniso.
UPND kuchoka kumbuyo could just continue whatever you are doing. You are not adopted, no independent. That one I'm serious. No independent will manage you. No
that
independent.
Sounds strong, huh?
So those who want to
gave an
stand,
ultimatum to all your members.
Yes, the issue here is
aspirants.
you cannot, my friend. We want this UPN to outlive us. We want UPN to outlive all of us. So you cannot create another political party. This message is very strong on the ground. People want to stand as an independent. But you can UPND. Aina kuza ntosuza chairman nomination. Nikamba pana as your national youth chairman. Constituency youth chairman, wherever you are in the country, no one will go independent. If you're sitting in person to adopt, you want to go independent, you stay in UPND. Campaign for that one is going to be adopted.
How will that happen?
It will happen, you will do it. I can tell you for the first time. If today you ask me, even the opposition will apply the same method. It is time. We need to put things in order. So there will be order. Nakamba kuti siru anata bwanji anaona nkondo. I'm too much on the ground.
Chairman, what powers are you going to use?
It's not the power.
Because
The powers are within the party.
The constitution allows for independent candidates.
Pamene pano, yenda. I have no
Yeah.
issues here. IP, today you stand up on your own, you start going as an independent. Now using the structure of the party, I have no problem. You come to the structure of the party, you have been introduced. All these things you go in their structures. Tomorrow not adopted. I'm not going. No, you're disturbing the vote sky. But if today you just go on your own, Wanyamuka Chabi, as an independent, I have no problem with you. You can go. But those who have gone now in all the constituencies across the country, here where we are strong, where we are weak, as long as you have gone in the structure of the UPN, you have spoken to the chairman of the party at a constituency level, ward, everything, my friend, Sumuzaiona, the issue is only one candidate which is needed. I'm not campaigning. We need to be serious as a party. 4 years Chebem government, 5 years. About a disturb. No. It is me, and I've got a list of everyone. Ikasuwa lembani wonsa. Ikafika ja time yafika time hapa kulibe ya September kulibe kala chemu UPN.
No one can go up.
No, kala chemu UPN. No one going anywhere. Kala mu UPN. You can continue. Even the parties are aware. Can we adopt somebody who is not popular? No. Who adopt somebody who is popular, but the one who is
That's
popular,
a dictatorial behavior
no,
you're trying to introduce now.
We are managing.
Are you going to block
in
all
the party
those during the
I've said you
the
cannot
filing of
come
nominations?
in the party.
Are you
No
going to block them?
No, listen. You can't come in the party using the structure of the party. You are using the popularity of the president and the party, and then tomorrow you decide to say I'm going independent. You leave it that way. Because everybody who is standing is claiming to be popular. So you divide the vote. You have almost 30, 50 members of parliament who are independent. You are creating another political party. Are they going to be loyal to you as UPND? Are they going to be loyal to the president? You know, me as a national youth chairman have said, this message, it has decampaigned me. People don't talk, but I want just to tell you that Suza Imilila, it ends there. Suza Imilila. The party will choose on one person. No, that one is like a Tonse. We campaign for the same person. No nomination. Unless maybe I won't be the national youth chairman. Even if I'll be the trustee, still more will apply that method to each and everybody. Because it helps the party to stay in government for so many years and to ensure that the president we have and the party manifesto and its vision benefits the people there outside.
What will happen to those that who dare to file in their nominations?
They won't file in.
How? What will happen to them?
After since UPND. But those who have done on their own like they have never done in UP, I have no problem. We can go as an independent. We will never see him there. The good part, we have got a list of those who have used UPND in every constituency. We have got that list. And on this 2026, there is an election which I'm more alert. It's this election.
Wow.
Party president, all the structure across the country. President and the party. Let's make the party become popular, that even if any innocent comes, we put him there, he wins an election. That's what we want.
Chipani kuchilimbe ni bantu wamene munga senze nao wamene wakumvelelana. Kuli mau yamene apitana kuli anzatu. Vena ni ma MP, venangu ni ma candidate. Ati bazaimira independent. Nane nikamba pamenso pano wa president. Ngani ni national youth chairman. Wamene asesa chipani cha UPND. Kubwera ku structure kuyambira ku ward kuma branch. Kufika up to pa province na pa national. Apitamo. Ndeni maira tafuna kwenda independent. Aikona hiyo ya. Your Excellency, kulibe independent mu UPND. Nga uma senzra UPND nkala cheo kazipitiliza. Kulibe kushta file ini jade nga tilipo esema youth. Wonse mwambela ma youth. Muzimai mwambela.
All right, thank you. So that's where we are.
Well, my take is this. I'll say it without mincing any words here. The UPND is a violent political party, historically. Okay. I was a young reporter when I covered. I went as a backup reporter into Mfumbwe to cover the by-election.
Yeah.
the amount of bloodshed I saw in Mufumbo.
I know the Mfumbwe violence.
I've never seen
yes.
it in my entire life.
Yeah.
I've heard people talk about the Mapatiza formula. I was never there, but I witnessed firsthand the violent incidents in Mufumbo. So there's a background to how the violence has been brewing in the UPND. But then what you see is failure by the top leadership, starting with President Hichilema himself, to acknowledge that there is violence in his political party and they have to take steps to diffuse that violence and just overcome it. Because remember, to suggest that the violence on the political face in Zambia died with the, in quotes, I would say the killing of the PF, has been an illusion, okay? Yes, the PF had a fair share of the violence, and we are not in any way watering it down. The PF was a violent political party.
Correct.
But to suggest that the removal of the PF from the face of the Zambian politics meant that the water is now calm, no violence, was a leadership that was living in denial. So what we saw in the UPND last week, for me, who knows the UPND, I was not shocked. Okay, there had been a lot of attempts to camouflage it. There's been a lot of attempts to bandage the problem, but the problem was sitting in the UPND. But however, what I want to address is how do we now attempt to understand the fundamental cause of the violence in the UPND? It is very simple. The UPND has not invested in its membership, okay? The UPND leadership, starting from President Hichilema, has been reminding people that they need to work at if they have to live well. Okay?
Correct.
But these ordinary members in the UPND today have seen, they have experienced the disproportionate between the weaker members of the UPND and those that are on top.
On top, correct.
That is why you find that today everyone in the UPND is aspiring for political office. You've seen people quitting as permanent secretaries. You've seen people quitting as directors in order to go and take up the political positions. Do they want to save? Certainly not. This is about having access now to the government coffers. Because the easiest way to enriching yourself in the UPND as it is right now is to have a political office. And this is the situation we find. The violence that we are seeing in the UPND is fundamentally two drivers. First, the party itself is inherently violent. And secondly, there has been this huge disparity between the haves and the have-nots. So what you see in the UPND is a huge gap between those that are living well, those that are amassing, those people that, those that are in leadership and are building massively in all the remaining areas of Lusaka. They are, you saw a number of UPND, especially those that are in government, political position in the last 2 years. They've been displaying, they are well doing, they are flourishing farms, okay? You have seen, the PF used to show us money in their bedrooms. The UPND have been showing us cows, okay? They have been showing us overflowing cows, okay? And
houses.
These are people that had nothing before 2021, and today they've got these ranches that are doing very well. Okay? So everyone now on the grassroots in the UPND believes and want to access. They believe that once you get that political ticket, once you get that political office, then all your problems are over. And in an attempt to get to access that political office, if it will require a violent process, they are willing to undertake
get involved.
Okay. And also for me, the president himself, President Hichilema, unfortunately, I have to confess, he has shown dangerous tolerance levels for violence. Okay. When the UPND came into power, they had first-hand experience of violence. When that guy was killed in, is it Solwezi? The former PF chair, Kungo. Now, what I expected for the president that was pronouncing is strong stance against violence. The first act should have been to investigate that death. Because if we investigated that death, look, an investigation will give you the person who are behind that incident. If that matter was severely or thoroughly investigated and everyone involved in the murder of Kungo brought to book, which the president was going to set a very, very high tone on how he wants the issue of violence to be treated. But what we have seen is that the UPND under President Hichilema has spent the last 4.5 years talking about the violence incidences that happened in the PF time, forgetting that there was violent activities that happened under their watch, which they could have investigated, but they ignored that. And as a result, you find that this violence now has found space in our politics, and it's growing. I'm not sure how much you've done as a TV station to verify the fact that that guy who attacked Honorable Gary Nkombo in Mazabuka is actually an associate of the president. There's been all those pictures on social, and I don't think there's been any denial on the part of State House to say this guy.
We don't know him.
We don't know him.
Correct.
Okay,
No,
he doesn't. Okay, so if a guy who attacks a minister and the minister positively identified him to be a guy from State House, then it paints a very gloomy and sad and dangerous picture. So for me, if the president matched his words, if the president's rhetoric around violence matched his action, we should have seen better. And that is why the police, how do you explain that somebody is being attacked in presence of the police and the police cannot act? Okay, and this, I'm not a person who really likes to classify people depending on their position in society, but I have to say this. If Honorable Gary Nkombo could be attacked like that in the presence of the police, and Honorable Gary Nkombo was a minister until, is it 6-7 months ago?
Yes.
What happened to a poor Mike Schula? What happened to the poor
That's
me?
the biggest question.
Yeah, that's the biggest question. And the inaction of the police is deliberate.
What will happen to the analyst Chiwoyo?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if that could happen to Honorable Nkombo. So I think the president, in my view, because what we saw last week, by the way, as Mike has put it, that was a dress rehearsal. Because I didn't, to be honest with you, I cannot say I didn't see this coming. I was guided, PK, when I was saying, look, when the UPND adoption, remember last week what I said? Yeah. When the UPND adoption process starts, we are going to see this violence. Yeah. I think I said it.
Yes, you mentioned that. You mentioned that. PK, when you listen to Honorable Gary Nkombo there, really, I think it brings out something very peculiar, where he alleges that those men who attacked me, it was shocking that they were taken to the police for a photo shoot, for dress rehearsals and stuff like that. From there, they were allowed to go home. And he goes further that he has also received information that the same culprits have gone to the police to report one of Gary Nkombo's allies who actually rescued Honorable Gary Nkombo. He has been reported to have been one of the suspects. So if a member of a former cabinet minister, Honorable Gary Nkombo, can be lamenting in such a manner, what happens?
Before I come to that, IP, very important question that you've asked, but allow me to also just demonstrate that what is happening in UPND is their own making.
Right.
The chaotic process within which they've handled their adoption, because you can't have one Secretary General issuing 2 adoption certificates. I mean, I am the Secretary General. I know that Kamfinsa, I have given it to Chiwoyo. Why must I issue another certificate for Kamfinsa to Mike Sichula? That chaotic way of handling the adoption is what partly has contributed to what we are witnessing. Wow. Because everyone is showing up legitimately. I have an adoption certificate. Mike also has an adoption certificate. Cleared. Yes. So who are you going to blame? So if the internal handling of this matter was well managed, we wouldn't have seen what we are seeing. That's
why was the president?
No, he's
what was the SG?
He's not involved in that. It's the SG. It's not the president. It's the SG.
No, but I don't know. Correct me. Is the adoption certificate not supposed to be signed by the president and the SGs?
I think that is
It's this.
That's the presidential. I don't know if it's a
No, it's the
parliamentary.
Actually, it's supposed to be signed by the CEO,
No, it's the same. It's across
CEO
board.
and the chairperson for elections.
No, it's across board. From the administrative rules of VCZ.
Oh, yeah?
Okay.
They said the president and the SG.
So there you go.
Yeah.
You are asking a good question again. Because the way I know President Hichilema is a very thorough
Exactly.
person. Very thorough, very methodical. How did he sign double for Chitambala and Keti, for instance?
Yeah.
How? Not the president. So something has gone wrong within the rank and file of the UPND. Unless someone should tell me someone has a digital signature of the president
Maybe.
and the digital signature of the
SG.
of the SG. Maybe we can accept that. But also the other thing that the UPND should have learnt out of this is that you cannot lead through intimidation. People have got the liberty to think independently and choose. After all, the law allows for freedom of choice, freedom of association. So the clip you played there of Wilsoniso saying, we will not allow independence. I was just looking at the list of adopted or nominated candidates from certain positions, especially in the southern and western, northwestern. We are likely to have the most independence in that parliament after the August 13 election. But that is what they were trying to avoid. They said, we will control, we will manage them. But you can only do so much. They attempted by confiscating
The
grade
NRCs.
12s and NRCs, they themselves. And by the way, I want to speak to the UPND, because the UPND, when that thing started happening, confiscation of the NRCs and the grade 12 certificates, guess where they ran to? They ran to this media
KBN
house
TV. Exactly.
that they call all manner of names. KBN, please help us expose this.
And it's them who built a monster.
It is them.
Within their own organization.
It is them, but they now saw our relevance. When the issues affect them,
only KBN TV can
they
help
now
us.
came and said, KBN, you are the only one who can help us expose this. Look, and we were not doing this because it affected the UPND. We would have done that if it affected anybody else.
Correct.
That's how neutral and independent we are supposed to be as a media house. So UPND, I hope you are learning some of the things that you keep accusing us of this, and ours is national service. We focus on serving the nation, that's it. And it doesn't matter who is involved, we'll say it as it is. So this thing of trying to intimidate and control people by saying we will not allow independence, we have now a record number of independent candidates. Now, you see, what will happen, IP and my colleagues here, what will happen if peradventure there is change of government? And you have a lot of independents. You know what will happen? That new government will influence the independents, work with them, and they should have been voting on the UPND ticket in that house. They will now be voting on the ticket of the new government, the same way this administration has worked with independents in parliament. So the UPND has set some very bad precedents, and what has happened in their management of adoption is one such that people must learn from. So lastly, coming to the issue of what happened to Honorable Gary Nkombo, it's a very sad story. It's a very sad development. He is a very respected man, the man who held UPND together with his colleagues in parliament when UPND was in opposition. It was him, Honorable Jack Mwimbu, Honorable Cornelius Mwetwa, Msokotwane, Nalumango, and a few others. Muchima. These are the people that held the brand name of UPND in opposition. You cannot come and reduce him to that manner of him now saying, I am on a dump, on a dustbin. I've been dumped by my friends. People had to go to him in the night and say, please, stand as an independent, we'll vote for you. they have split their own vote. That is their stronghold. But Gary Nkombo will never proudly speak as a UPND member of parliament if, as and when, he's voted. That thing that he has experienced will have a bitter taste in his mouth. And UPND after this will never be the same.
Already is not, meaning he's no longer a UPND member.
No, he's an independent. Yes, he's no longer.
So he's no longer a member of the UPND.
Exactly.
Going by the constitution of Zambia.
Exactly.
Unless if he becomes a sympathizer to the UPND.
Yes. So UPND will no longer be the same after this. They were united in opposition. They've tested power and access to wealth, as Chiwoyu said. It's now about what can I get, and that's what we are seeing now.
What happens finally, Chiwoyu? What happens now in that the UPND from all along, they have been accusing the PeP. Each time there was a political violence somewhere, I think each time we went in the field covering stories, they will tell you it's the PeP. Our members were basically maybe defending themselves. It's the PeP, it's the PeP. Now the PeP is out of the picture. The purported violent political party, the PeP, is out of the picture. UPND remains alone, but they are still fighting themselves. Have they been exposed?
Yeah. Okay. What is very important about what we are seeing in the UPND? I'm saying this with a lot of regrets. I'm not saying that I prophesize this, but I was just trying to look. I mean, just to look at the tools of analysis. Evaluating what we have seen, what was prevailing, and say, okay, going forward, what we will obtain is this situation which we find ourselves in. So with a lot of regret, I say that the UPND violence is actually at a different level, okay? The PF used to attack opponents. The UPND are attacking each other.
Cannibalizing.
They are cannibalizing. It's an implosion, okay? This is an implosion. So unlike the PF, which saw an enmity in an opponent, the UPND are fighting. They are cannibalizing. I think the best word is cannibalizing.
Yeah. I will teach you another Tonga word.
Eating each other.
An insect which eats itself.
Wow.
So now, if the vicious approach that we have seen towards each other, what would happen when the UPND faces now an opponent outside itself? So what we are saying, let's put water on ours. Let's not extinguish.
But the beauty, Chiwoyu, and I hear your concern, but I am also happy that this is happening when Parliament has dissolved. There are no ministers, and for the first time, I believe the police are going to get their powers back, because now the police are standing at a verge of a potential change of government, because it's not a guarantee that the UPND will win.
Right.
Okay?
It's an election.
It's an election. So the police now, because it is less than 90 days to change of government, we are likely to see a police that will act a bit more professional, because the state apparatus somehow has shifted in a way.
What happened in Mazabuka, PK? I want to disagree with you.
I know we haven't started the campaigns yet, but I can tell you this. Police, as we stand today, they would want to behave
themselves.
They would want to behave as professionals because of a possibility of change of government, and they'll be saying, if I don't like you see what happened in Mazabuka. All the policemen who were there have been captured on video. So you don't want to be exposed like that to say these are the people who perpetuated the violence under their watch. Everyone will sit up and defend the rights of every citizen of Zambia, because they don't want to be exposed that if government changed, I might lose my job or I might be demoted or what. We are going to see a very professional police, speaking to the concern that Chiwoyu has raised. The police will rise to the occasion and defend the Zambian people.
We pray for that going forward. But of course, let's look at the other political parties, and as far as the adoptions processes are concerned as well. All other political parties, of course, something that comes out that no political party seems to have failed. They seem to have managed to file in the nominations or to field their candidates across the country, in as far as the parliamentary is concerned. What does it mean? Does it mean that Mike Sichula
political parties have been ambushed when we had 5 years of preparation for them to identify their potential candidates? What's going on? Were they sleeping?
No, there was a lot of uncertainty in terms of which political party is going to, which presidential candidate is going to be on the ballot. We've spent too much time talking about the PeP. There were a number of people who had hoped that I can seek political office on the PeP. So there's a lot of uncertainty. You saw what has happened. And at the last minute on Tuesday last week, some people thought they were going to get adoption certificates on the FDD, those people who are supporting Brian Mundulire. So this is why I'm saying there was a lot of uncertainty. So I wouldn't, I can't, when you look at this matter from an analytical point of view, this could have contributed to the Pamozi Tiende Alliance, the Tonse Pamozi Tiende Alliance, not to have the ability to field candidates even in UPND strongholds, because of the uncertainty. Then, because look, Tuesday you file in, then Friday is the last day. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So there's a lot of movement that you need to put in place. And this is why, even if people are celebrating to say, how come this political party, they have failed to file in, are they serious or not? It takes someone who is not objective to say that. Because look, the political party that is sponsoring Brian Mundulire, in terms of us knowing about it, it's less than a month. Actually, it's days. So if they have managed, as an example, to field in 220 constituencies, that's a very big achievement. Because we have political parties that were formed 10 years ago. They have not had that capacity to field in 220 constituencies. Then secondly, the issue of delimitation also had a toll on some candidates. This is why at some point people are saying, let's push it, because you need to have a lot of time to say which constituencies ends where, and so on and so forth. So this is what could have led to some political parties not managing to field in 226 constituencies and in over 1,800 council local government by-elections. So there are a lot of dynamics.
Chiwoyo, I want you to quickly handle, I know time is not with us, but the arrest of Beauty Katebe quickly, and also Kate Nanyango. Let me just play this clip just to remind the viewers.
Very disappointing for us as the women movement is that we were abducted by the police to be brought here at Kawata police station, while other police officers gave the other aspiring candidate an escort to go and file his nomination. It's quite disappointing. We are very, very disappointed with what the system has done. Thank you. No, not in the motion. We were at Tembo, and Katie, the aspiring candidate, was called to go to the town clerk's office. So after an hour or so, someone came and called me to join her. So in that office, what we received was firstly information from the party secretariat, from Mr. Smue, indicating that Katie has been cleared, because yesterday she was actually cleared and she was told to just go to Nagatindi Hall today at 8 hours. That's why today we went there very early, and then when she was called in the TC's office, I followed her and some more people came, and what was happening in that office I think is what was a bit surprising, because she was talking to the party leaders, Mark and the rest. They were clearing her to say no, everything is done. But each time she talked to the town clerk was indicating like him was not cleared by anyone. So we kept waiting and waiting and waiting until we were told to go out because the police officers came in. When we were told to go out, we we were actually told that she was cleared now, we could go and fire. So when we went at that small gate, we were again blocked by the police. So we were told to go back in the office for the TC. When we went back, we found that there were some police officers in that office, and they could not allow us in. They were talking to the TC. So we went and sat within the corridor. There is a small foyer near the deputy mayor's office. So that's where we sat. There were a lot of people on the corridors, and the police managed to clear most of them. And Katie herself talked to most of the cadres to leave the place and wait for us to be cleared. Unfortunately, at some point, I think that was around somewhere 13 to 14, the police just came. We were seated, talking and just chatting. The police came and said, let's go, let's go, let's go. So I was like, okay, now we are going to fire, because she was cleared, and the letter signed today was sent to her by their chairperson for elections. So we were like, okay, now maybe she has been cleared. So when we started going, it looked a little different, because as we were heading out, the police presence started becoming bigger. So, and we were looking straight into the police vehicle. I don't know how they call that police without windows, and yeah. And they told us, fast, fast, enter, enter, enter. For me, I would say we were not actually arrested. The police abducted us together with the aspiring candidate and her supporters. We were bundled, and my two media persons from NGOCC. We were bundled into that vehicle and brought here. You know that vehicle, you don't even know where we are going. So when we arrived, that's when we knew that we were coming to the water police. We were told to take off everything, get into the police cells. With the arguments, they couldn't even, for me, they even brought other police officers to come and now just drag me into the police cells. I had to tell them not to drag me. I was going to walk on my own. We went into the police cells until after about 30 minutes or so. That's when one of the police officers came, called out my name. I was given the phone, and then we were brought to the offices to come and do the caution and warning. But for me, I have decided not to sign. I signed on where it says you cannot say anything if you like, and something like that. I refused to sign because the charge that they were reading out to me was completely different from what I was doing. I was working. I went to support a female aspiring candidate, and to be told that I am loitering in that place, I think that is not correct. I'm very disappointed, firstly, with the police. I'm disappointed with the party that has caused all this confusion, because I know, I'm sure, as the media, you understand that the reason why we brought in Bill 7.
All right, thank you so much. Chiwoyo, your quick take over the arrest of Kate Nanyangwe. PK talked about the issuance of double adoption certificates, and Nanyangwe was claiming that she had been cleared. Also, Simon Mwewa Chitambala also was claiming that he had been cleared. Your take, but ultimately we saw Beauty Katebe being arrested together with the candidate. Well, if you can do it within a minute, I will appreciate it.
Look, it's unfortunate that the UPND decided to abuse the state police to sort out a problem that they had created themselves. Because the problem we saw at the Lusaka Civic Center, where two candidates came with the genuine certificates given to them by the UPND. By the way, there was no denial on the part of the Secretary General of on any one of those two certificates.
Correct.
They were authentically issued. Okay, so for the UPND, I think that was a political problem which they should have sorted out politically, rather than involving the police to abduct the Katie and their supporters, taken to Kabwata, and only being released after Simon had managed to file his application. So I think my biggest lesson, my appeal to the police is that let's not use the police to sort out or to solve political problems. I think that is my genuine appeal to the police. And just to ride on what PK has said, I hope the police can stand their ground and resist temptation by politicians to use them to solve political problems created by politicians.
PK, quickly, the arrest of Beauty Katebe.
I was actually wondering what case she committed and whether or not she has been arrested based on the new gatherings law, because I mean she was there speaking to the media, complaining about how she felt Katie has been mishandled. Remember, she had a point here. She moved from party to party, meeting officials saying you need to give chance to female candidates. So that is her advocacy and the organization she represents. So for her to stand by that word, including the last minute of the adoption, I don't see any crime she could have committed, unless someone is telling me that is now the ugliness of the New Gatherings Act. That there she was speaking and she attracted a crowd without a police permit. Therefore, she was arrested.
They were charged for idle standing.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
Yeah, no, they were police official statement is that they were charged for idle standing.
Yes.
Under what law is that?
The old laws.
The old laws.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. But really,
So idle standing?
Are you telling me that was idle standing? She was doing activism. How does activism become idle? I am saying give chance to this young lady instead of this giant who has been asking people to pick up papers everywhere. So give a chance to this young lady. How does that become idle? And this is not like she just started it right there. She was with the Secretary General of UPND. She was with the Secretary General of CF. She went to see Honorable Munduvile. She has been to all these political parties canvassing for the adoption of female candidates. I think it is very unfair to do that to Katebe. By the way, there are very few civil society organizations that are speaking.
Correct.
Katebe Beauty is one of the most vibrant voices that remained under this watch. Not to be bribed, not to be silenced, and to be subjected to such an unlawful way of arrest is totally outrageous.
She used a very strong word that she was abducted by the Zambia police. That's a word she used after her release. Quite disturbing. But Chiwoyo, as we go, I know that tomorrow the continent of Africa will be commemorating Africa Day, which can be called Africa Liberation Day or Africa Freedom Day. Of course, the name was changed from Africa Freedom Day to Africa Day. Quite interesting. And this, I think, quite important, especially that Zambia, we are heading to, we are in a campaign period, in a time that we need nothing but peace, unity. Maxi Chula, quickly your bite as we go. Your reflection on Africa Day.
This is a very important day for Africa. And my message in terms of how we need to uphold this day is that as the young generation, there's need for us as the young generation to see to it that we are not taken by the influence of the Western society. I recall there are certain things that 20 years, 30 years ago, I could not imagine that we could be arguing, you and I, to say this one is right, this one is wrong. For instance, I'll speak to the aspect of upholding the African culture. If I'm going to speak to an elderly person, it is just paramount for me to, if I've got a cap on my head, to remove it. But today, that becomes a debatable issue. I can only imagine to say how we are throwing away our African culture, and slowly the Western influence is taking over our African culture, and we don't see anything wrong. And as young people, it is important that in as much as we uphold the spirits of the late Dr. Kaunda, Kwame Nkrumah, and others, we should also remain resolute to protect our African identity. We see foreign nationals come to Africa to celebrate our African culture, which ourselves, we don't see any value in it. I stand here to say, as young people, the things that are so imaginable that we cannot even debate about it. For instance, I'll talk about something that is eroding the African culture as we celebrate Africa Freedom Day tomorrow. The aspect of homosexuality. It is something that 20 years, 30 years ago, you cannot debate about it because it is wrong.
We knew our identities.
Yes, it is wrong. You can't debate it to talk about, let people have their rights. It's their right, it's their choice. in the African context, when you look at the freedom that our forefathers fought for, that was non-debatable. It was non-negotiable. It is wrong, and even the Bible, as a Christian nation, it is wrong. But today, because of Western influence, we want to throw away the spirit of Africanism. We want to embrace it as something that suits our culture. It doesn't suit our culture.
Right. Chiwoyo, your message ahead of Africa Freedom Day tomorrow?
Well, obviously the continent it's at a very difficult stage. Okay?
Correct.
The continent effectively turns 63 tomorrow. But then what you have to look at is, if you look at the historical background, where we are coming from, there's always been a certain agenda that Africa has pursued. If you're going to talk about our forefathers, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, Julius Nyerere,
correct.
Emperor Haile Selassie, if you're going to talk about the strong man from I'll mention the names as I go on.
Right.
But where we are right now as a continent is a position where we don't have an agenda. Our forefathers had an agenda of liberation.
Yes.
They were helping each other, and they were helping each other beyond race, beyond color. Ben Bella, for instance, was Arabic, but he came down into the sub-Saharan Africa to ensure that his brothers support the liberation movements. But where we are right now, we are a continent that has got a lot of problems. Okay, how do you explain that 63 years into liberation, we are still fighting diseases like Ebola just here? I mean, cholera is still our problem in Zambia. We have overcome HIV to a very large extent because of the influence of the donors, the West. Okay, we are still sitting in that space where we are being accused of either being pro-West or being pro-East. So we are a continent that is we're a young continent, by the way.
Yes.
But we still have these problems of identity, the problem of trying to pursue our political trajectory. And I just hope that what we have seen in our neighboring countries, and I'm going to say this with a lot of indignation, like what we saw in Tanzania recently, where for a president to maintain power, they had to lose 1,000 lives. We had similar problems in Uganda, for instance, where the president had 99% of the votes. We had similar problems in Rwanda. I just hope that every Zambian would take part in defending the Zambian constitution, our values, because Zambia has been an integral part of the Africa Renaissance. Okay, so what we do in Zambia reflects a lot what happens in African countries, because whether you like it or not, even if when it comes to issues like democracy, Zambia is a beacon of democracy, not just in Southern Africa, but Africa as a whole. We are one of the few countries on this continent that has changed the 3 ruling parties without shedding blood.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I know there's been an attempt by the current regime to weaken the presence of the opposition, but I just hope that the opposition and the ruling party can reflect on the importance of African union, the African unity, and the growth of Africa, to ensure that that hope, that light that was lit in 1963 in Addis Ababa is kept alive.
Thank you so much, Comrade Chiwoyo and Comrade Mike Sichula. PeP and I will not give any message. I think that is more than enough because time is not on our side. We have to close the program. Thank you so much for watching this evening, the analysis program. We're back again next week with another exciting episode. May God bless Zambia. May God bless Mother Africa. Good night.